Now, we are watching multiple events happen all at the same time. The Patriots, they decided to use what is happening right now to do many different things. And they are getting them done. What do I mean by this? Well, how do you change an entire economic system? How do you convince the people that we need to change the supply chains? How do you convince the world we need to do this? How do we convince the entire country and the world that medical supplies have to be manufactured back in this country? How do we convince the entire country, the world, that manufacturing needs to be back in your country? That the globalist central bank system does not work? Well, it seems that this event is doing that. And what's very interesting is that what Trump and the Patriots are trying to do here is they're trying to bring everything back and reduce the power of the globalist system that was being set up in China. Weaken China, weaken the manufacturing, weaken the entire system that they were setting up, and bring it back to the U.S. and make the U.S. much, much stronger. And that is what exactly is happening. The U.S. is going to emerge stronger from what is going on right now. China is going to emerge weaker. Why? Well, we know that countries now are looking at the situation. We know the U.S. is looking at the situation. And countries and the U.S. are going to say it is not a good idea to have China as the focal point. We need to start moving corporations, manufacturers out of this country. It has already started. And what is happening here is where everything was set up in this country is now it is being removed. And a lot of these manufacturers, companies, they're going to be coming back to the United States. So this is one part of the event where we're watching the entire economic shift. It is happening in real time. Yes, it is going to be bumpy. Yes, it's going to be difficult during this period of time. But I do believe once we get to the other side, it's going to be incredible. Actually, if you really listen to Trump, he continually is telling us that there's going to be so much pent-up demand. Why? Because when everything is said and done, when all of this is over, everything is going to change. And everything that Trump has been building with the trade deals, the USMCA, remember that comes online in June, all of this is going to come online. And everything is going to start to flow again, but in a different way. And everything is going to change. Now, through this event, we know that Trump, the Patriots, they have been asking for this stimulus package. It's like $1 trillion. And instead of taking this $1 trillion and stuffing it into the banking system, into the central bank coffers, what they're doing is they're going to help Main Street, small businesses, the people that are suffering. Very different than 2008, 2009, where they took that TARP money, and we know it was a lot more than $750 billion. It was in the trillions. They took that and they sent it off to different central banks, to different countries, to banks here in the U.S. to bail them out. This time, it is completely different. Now, the Trump administration asked the IRS if they would push the tax filing date, push it out further than it is now, where it's April 15th. So they wanted it maybe 90 days from now. You know what the IRS said? The IRS said it won't be pushing back the April 15th tax filing deadline. And they're going to be coming out with an announcement. Now, is Trump going to get involved in this? He might have to. He might have to put pressure on the IRS. But again, why is the IRS doing this? Who are they controlled by? How were they created? It's part of the central bank system. Now, like we said, Trump has declared a national emergency, which gives him incredible power. And Trump, he is now invoking the Defense Production Act, which allows the federal government to require the private sector to produce much-needed medical equipment to combat the coronavirus. What else does it do? Well, the third section authorizes the president to control the civilian economy so that scarce and or critical materials necessary to the national defense efforts are available for defense needs. The act also authorizes the president to requisition property, force industry to expand production and the supply of basic resources, impose wage and price controls, settle labor disputes, control consumer and real estate credit, establish contractual priorities, and allocate raw materials towards national defense. Basically, Trump right now is going to be taking control over the economic system. Why does he need to do this? It takes it out of the hands of all these individuals that are on a different path. Trump, remember, is protecting the people here in the United States. Trump is protecting the companies, small businesses. He wants to make sure that the system does not crash. Yes, going through this period, this is the great turning. We're going to see the market come down like we've seen the market come down today. But hopefully the market goes back up tomorrow. We've been seeing these huge swings up and down. I do believe that Trump and the Patriots, they're trying to keep the market steady right now, long enough to come out of this entire event. And it seems that Trump, he is now dropping the economic hammer. He needs to do this because now we're in a place where he can change quite a bit. We're already seeing a lot of change. And when we move out of a central bank system, remember, it's not just like, oh, you snap a finger and let's switch everything over to something completely different. If we're going to bring everything back, and remember, the central bank system is a complete and utter mess. This was going to fail no matter what. They wanted an event. They wanted a war. They wanted something to cover it up. Trump is not going to give it to them. He's going to expose the entire system. He has to. He cannot keep the system the way it is today. He can't allow the central bank to be in power because everything that he's doing, it will solve nothing. The central bank has to be removed from the equation because if he resets the trade deals, he makes new trade deals, he does all these different things. Once he's out of office, what happens then? The central bank, if they're still in power, they're just going to reverse it with the next person. He needs to remove the central bank establishment. That is where he's going. And in order to do this, he needs to create an economy that is stronger than any central bank system. And by the way, the central bank system is not strong whatsoever. The central bank system right now is a disaster because of the debt load, because of the derivative market, because of what they have done. And it only lasts for a certain period of time before the whole entire system comes crashing down. So Trump right now, what he is doing, he is now building this economic system to stand up to the central bank system. And this is why he's taken this opportunity to change everything. It has to be turned. We are shifting. We are transitioning into a new system at lightning speed. Think about how much is going to get done now. Think about how much is getting done right now. Think about Europe. Think about the US. Think about other countries like the UK who are looking at this and saying, we are now going to change all our supply chains. We're going to create new trade deals. We're going to put into place safeguards to protect us from this once this is all said and done. So Trump and the Patriots, they're using this time to do this because he needs to build the economic system up. He needs to have everything in place to go up against the central bank. Remember, the central bank doesn't play fair. The central bank never wants to be exposed. They always want to be in control. They like to point the finger at everything else. This is how they work. And they'll never give up. They fight dirty. Remember, these are non-elected leaders. Think about the ECB. They're non-elected leaders calling the shots for all these countries. It is time to remove the invisible enemy. The invisible enemy is the central bank, the deep state. It is time to build the system to transition into this new economic force, make it an open and free market, and then eventually move towards changing the currency. And if you go back in time into the 60s, moving into the 70s, This is exactly what the central bank did. They took us off the gold standard. Remember Nixon? He said because of speculators, we're going to be coming off the gold standard. They put us on a fiat system, which was backed by the petrodollar, where the government could borrow and borrow and borrow, where the Fed can continually create currency, attach interest to it, enslave the people. This was their plan from the very beginning. And since they came into existence in 1913, this is what they've been working towards. They don't rush anything. Remember, the United States had 3 central banks. This is the third one. This is the last one that's going to be removed. Now, will this happen again? People are saying, well, once this happens and we remove the central bank and we control everything and we get rid of the deep state and everything else, will this happen again? Yes, our founding fathers, they've warned us that we will have to do this over and over and over again. Why? Because people forget. But in the beginning stages, once we remove the central bank, we're going to see a completely different economic system. A system that is not based on debt. A system that is based on whole money, where it doesn't lose value because you're not creating this currency out of thin air. You'll see less corruption in government. Why? Because there's checks and balances. You just can't continually borrow, send it off somewhere, and launder the money. The entire economic system, the entire structure is going to be changed from the central bank all the way up through all the businesses, corporations, and the currency. All of this is going to be changed. This is what the Patriots are doing. They're using this time to transition us into this new economic system. And we've said this many, many times before, the road is going to be bumpy. But once we reach the end, once we reach the other side, it's going to be incredible. And we had to get through this period of time, just like we had to get through that period of time when the central banks brought us from a gold standard over to a petrodollar fiat system. Now, of course, yes, we had bumps and there were problems then, but remember, we were going from a solid system to a complete fiat system. Now we're going from a fiat system which is failing rapidly, bringing us into a sound money system where we have trade, where we have manufacturing, we have a system that operates for the benefit of the people. So it is going to be bumpy because we're coming out of a system that is imploding on itself. And this means everything needs to reset. The market has to reset. Everything has to reset. And that is what we are watching.